I know you're about to scroll away. Your finger is lingering above the screen right now, ready to swipe to the next clip, to dismiss this as just another motivational talk, to shift towards something more exciting or instantly gratifying. That urge to go, that uneasiness, that subtle pushback, that feeling that you should be elsewhere, it's not a coincidence. It's not merely your short focus span or your restless thoughts. It's the precise instant when reality is beginning to change, and your ego is struggling to stop that shift by convincing you to exit before the awakening unfolds. This is the dynamic almost no one fully grasps. The moment you most feel like leaving is exactly when remaining becomes the most transformative. The resistance you're sensing right now isn't saying this isn't for you. It's showing you that this is precisely meant for you. And a part of your being knows that if you stay, something profound will alter within you, something that can never return to what it was. The ego's purpose is to keep you secure by keeping you familiar. Yet transformation is the direct opposite of remaining unchanged. So the ego triggers the urge to escape at the exact point when staying would lead to expansion. Think back to every time you stood on the brink of something meaningful, a hard conversation, a demanding practice, a defining truth. Right before the moment of breakthrough, there's always the temptation to give up, to distract yourself, to do anything other than face what's unfolding. That urge isn't weakness. It's not you being lazy or unfocused. It's the ego's built-in defense system activating because it senses its identity is in danger from the truth that's about to surface. Right now, as your eyes move across these words, you're feeling precisely that. One side of you wants to continue, wants to absorb what's being shared, senses that something valuable is present. But another side is manufacturing reasons to disengage. I've heard all this before. I don't have the patience. This feels repetitive. I should be finishing something else. Every one of those excuses is your ego trying to shield itself by urging you to dodge the very insight that could dissolve its hold on your awareness. The ancient wisdom traditions all observed this pattern. The Buddhists refer to it as spiritual avoidance, the habit of dodging the very realizations that would bring freedom. The Christian mystics spoke of asteia, the spiritual numbness that tempts you to abandon your practice just as it begins to bear results. The Sufis named it the nafs, the false identity that resists its own undoing. Each path recognized the same truth. Resistance peaks right before awakening because the ego senses its control slipping away. What separates this instant from all those other times you've scrolled past similar teachings is your awareness of the pattern right now. You're noticing the impulse to leave as it arises. And within that awareness lies your choice. You can follow the urge blindly, letting the ego claim another small victory. Or you can remain conscious, recognizing that this resistance itself is the signpost that you're standing before something momentous. Your energetic field has been aligning circumstances to bring you to this very message, in this exact moment. The synchronicities that led you here weren't random. They were intelligence itself arranging reality to guide you to what your ego resists but your soul deeply craves. The fact that you feel the urge to exit isn't proof that you should. It's proof that staying is precisely what must occur. In quantum physics, there's a phenomenon called quantum tunneling. Particles pass through obstacles that classical laws say they shouldn't. Yet tunneling happens only when the conditions are perfectly aligned, and one of those conditions is sufficient energy at the barrier's edge. Your resistance right now is that energy. The desire to leave is actually the very force required for transformation. If you remain with it, if you stay aware despite the discomfort, the wall dissolves and consciousness moves into an entirely new dimension. This is why enlightened teachers across eras have stressed the power of remaining with discomfort, of observing resistance, of not escaping when your programming insists you should. They weren't being harsh or testing your loyalty. They understood that the urge to flee is the first contraction of awakening, the birth pain of genuine transformation. And if you walk away when the pressure intensifies, you'll never witness the birth that's trying to unfold within you. Recently, you've been facing something that connects directly to this cycle, the tendency to withdraw right before a breakthrough. You've probably noticed that every time you approach something authentic, a moment of deep awareness, a practice that truly works, or a teaching that begins to penetrate your core, your mind suddenly starts producing excuses to pause. Not obvious ones, but quiet, persuasive thoughts that sound perfectly rational in the moment. First, you've encountered what I call the illusion of completion. You pick up a spiritual book or watch a talk that resonates profoundly. And about 3/4 of the way through, your mind whispers, "I've got it now. I understand. No need to continue." So, you stop midway or close the video believing you've absorbed what you needed. But what really happened is that you came close to genuine transformation, and the ego panicked, fabricating the illusion that you'd already arrived. So, you'd halt before actually arriving. You've likely seen this cycle again and again. You begin something powerful, make strong progress, and then stop just short of the most critical stage. It isn't laziness or lack of commitment. It's an intricate protection mechanism where the ego convinces you that you've already gained what you came for, so you'll leave before receiving the very thing that would reshape you. That false sense of completion is the ego's final shield against true fulfillment. Second, you've experienced what I refer to as spiritual attention drift. Your focus begins to scatter exactly when the teachings start to deepen. You can easily concentrate on surface-level inspiration, motivational quotes, uplifting stories, or quick-fix techniques that promise instant change. But when the message dives deeper, when it starts to reveal truths that could unravel your current identity, your focus begins to splinter. You suddenly feel the urge to check your notifications, remember a task that can't wait, or notice that you're hungry, sleepy, or restless. This isn't a lack of attention. It's attention defense, your awareness fragmenting itself to avoid the integration that's trying to unfold. The ego realizes that if you remain with profound truth long enough for it to settle, your entire perception of reality will transform. So, it fabricates urgency around meaningless details, makes trivial concerns feel pressing, and conjures distractions that pull you away from what truly matters. You've likely felt annoyed with yourself about this, wondering, why can't I just stay focused when something meaningful is being shared? But this isn't a personal flaw. It's a universal dynamic that every human faces because each of us carries an ego desperate to preserve its existence. Recognizing this recurring cycle is the very first step toward freeing yourself from its control. Third, you've probably observed how easily you dismiss or lose track of powerful realizations right after they occur. Someone says something deeply moving, a truth that feels undeniably real, and within minutes or hours you can hardly recall the essence of it. Or perhaps you've had a direct glimpse of awareness, a brief experience of pure presence, a moment of knowing your real self. Almost instantly, your mind floods in with commentary, dissection, or doubt about whether it was genuine. This quick forgetting isn't bad memory, it's deliberate suppression. The realization or experience threatened the ego's constructed worldview, so the ego instantly buries it beneath layers of thought and mental chatter before it can take root. Like a seed that starts to sprout but gets smothered under heavy stones before breaking through the soil, truth tried to rise, but was covered up before it could anchor itself in your awareness. Fourth, you've experienced how resistance intensifies the closer you move toward awakening. It may appear as physical agitation, the inability to stay still during meditation or teachings, or as emotional turbulence, sudden anger, restlessness, or anxiety when deep truth is being revealed. It can also manifest as mental resistance, your thinking mind racing to generate doubts, criticisms, rationalizations, or distractions to avoid direct recognition. You've probably noticed that this resistance increases in direct proportion to the depth of truth. The more authentic and transformative a message is, the stronger the inner pushback becomes. Shallow content doesn't provoke resistance because it poses no real threat. But teachings capable of shifting consciousness trigger intense opposition precisely because they endanger the ego's control. Resistance always mirrors potential transformation, meaning that when resistance is strongest, you're closest to something real. Fifth, you've noticed a recurring pattern of constantly restarting instead of continuing forward. You begin a spiritual routine or follow a path, make visible progress, and then abruptly abandon it to pursue something entirely new. Not because the first method wasn't effective, but because it was too effective. It began guiding you toward genuine transformation, which activated the ego's defenses, appearing as thoughts like, "This doesn't feel right for me," or "Maybe another method would suit me better." This endless cycle of starting over is the ego's cleverest tactic. It blocks transformation while keeping you convinced you're sincerely progressing. You're constantly beginning, endlessly exploring, always experimenting with new approaches, yet rarely staying with any single one long enough to reach the depth where genuine transformation unfolds. It gives the illusion of sincere seeking while quietly ensuring that you never truly discover what you're searching for. Finally, you've encountered what I call threshold syndrome, standing again and again at the edge of a breakthrough but never stepping across. You reach the very point where something real is about to emerge. You can sense the momentum building. You know you're close. And then something intervenes, a distraction, an unexpected event, a sudden twist of circumstances that pulls you away just before the threshold moment. And this happens over and over, consistently, each time you near authentic transformation. This isn't coincidence or bad timing. It's consciousness mirroring your inner readiness. When you are truly prepared to cross over, nothing external can stop it. But when part of you is still resisting, that resistance materializes as outer situations that seem like valid reasons not to complete the process. The universe isn't opposing you, you're opposing yourself, and the external world merely reflects that inner resistance. Every video you've clicked away from, every book you've left unfinished, every meditation you've abandoned, every insight you've ignored, none of it was failure. It was research. Your awareness has been gathering information about the ego's behavior, the triggers it uses, the tactics it employs to stay in control, the ways it blocks awakening. And all of that has been preparing you for this exact moment. The moment where you finally perceive the pattern clearly enough to make a different choice. Think of how a scientist examines a phenomenon. First, they observe it repeatedly, taking note of its patterns and tendencies. Then, they develop a theory about how it functions. Next, they test that theory through experiment. Your spiritual journey has mirrored this same process, observing the ego's defenses, understanding how they operate, and now arriving at the stage of experiential testing, where you consciously choose to remain even when every part of you wants to flee. The times you left before weren't mistakes. They were essential observations. Each moment you clicked away, you learned something about the triggers behind that urge. Each time you let go of a practice, you discovered how resistance takes form. Each time you dismissed a teaching, you saw the ego's tactics in motion. Without those accumulated experiences, you wouldn't recognize this pattern as it unfolds now. You would simply react as you have countless times before. But this moment is different. This time you're aware as it happens. The urge to leave is surfacing, but instead of obeying it, you're witnessing it. You're identifying it as a pattern, not as reality. And that simple recognition marks the beginning of true liberation. Because you can never be controlled by what you can clearly see. Unconscious patterns only dominate you when they operate beneath the light of awareness. Once illuminated by consciousness, they lose their grip. Your entire journey has been guiding you toward this very moment of conscious decision. Every spiritual insight you've encountered was revealing a single dimension of how awareness functions. Every discipline you practiced was cultivating one inner capacity you would eventually rely upon. Every hardship you endured was strengthening your ability to remain grounded amid resistance. From the personal viewpoint, it all seems chaotic and uncertain. Why have I been searching for so long? Why can't I find what I'm looking for? But from the vantage of consciousness itself, it's been flawless preparation. The seeking was never about locating something outside yourself. It was about wearing out every strategy of the seeker until the seeker realizes that the act of seeking is the obstacle, not the answer. Every teaching that seemed to promise transformation but fell short was actually pointing out that transformation cannot be acquired. It can only be recognized as what already is. Every method that worked for a while and then stopped was reminding you that temporary states come and go, but what you truly are remains constant. And now you've arrived at the threshold where seeking can evolve. From horizontal searching to vertical surrender, from reaching outward or forward to recognizing what's already here now. The urge to click away is the final echo of horizontal seeking. Maybe the next video, the next teacher, the next idea will have it. But choosing to stay marks the turn toward vertical realization. What if what I've been chasing is already present in this very awareness, in this breath, in this now? This reframing changes everything. You haven't failed in your spiritual path. You've been succeeding in understanding how consciousness functions through direct participation. The ego's mechanisms of resistance aren't barriers blocking awakening. They are the raw material through which awakening unfolds when clearly seen. Every time the ego whispers, "Leave," and you identify that voice as ego rather than truth, awakening happens. The seeing itself is awakening, not some future destination reached through another technique or teaching. The path hasn't been leading you toward awakening. It has been awakening expressing itself through the path. And what's unfolding right now is the realization that the urge to leave is just another passing movement within awareness. You are not the impulse, you are the knowing of it. That distinction is everything. When you're merged with the impulse, you follow it automatically. When you stand as awareness, witnessing the impulse, you regain freedom to respond or not. Something powerful is stirring within your energetic field right now, not because of the words you're reading but because you're still here. By remaining present in spite of resistance, you've activated a quantum shift that's already reorganizing your consciousness beneath the level of thought. This isn't symbolic. Your decision to stay despite discomfort is literally collapsing probability waves that once held you trapped in repetitive patterns. Can you sense it? That faint surge of energy, that feeling of movement within, that brightness of heightened presence. It's not coming from these sentences. It's emerging from your own awareness, recognizing that it's breaking a cycle that's been operating for years, maybe even decades. Every previous time you obeyed the urge to exit, you strengthened neural circuits of avoidance. But right now, by choosing to stay, you're carving new pathways. and your nervous system is reacting to that unfamiliar shift with activation energy. In neuroscience, this is explained by neuroplasticity, the brain's innate ability to reshape itself through new neural connections. Yet neuroplasticity has a vital condition. You must behave differently than your usual automatic patterns. Repetition reinforces the old wiring, only novelty rewires the brain. So, by remaining here when your conditioning tells you to leave, you're actually triggering your brain's neuroplastic potential. New connections are physically forming as you continue reading. But neuroplasticity isn't confined to the brain, it applies to consciousness itself. Your awareness has long been on autopilot, repeating unconscious habits. Leaving when things get uncomfortable, avoiding when change feels threatening, seeking elsewhere when truth is present here. All of that has been unconscious, until now. You're bringing awareness to the pattern. You're turning the automatic into the intentional. And that single shift, from unconscious to conscious, is the root mechanism behind all true transformation. You now stand at what systems theory refers to as a bifurcation point. A crossroads where a system can either continue its current trajectory or reorganize into a brand new state. Before this point, everything appears stable, predictable, familiar. But at the bifurcation point, the system becomes exquisitely sensitive to subtle changes. Small decisions lead to massive consequences. Once crossed, it stabilizes in an entirely new pattern of order. You're standing right at that threshold now. The choice to stay or to leave might seem minor, just another video, just another moment. But because you're at a bifurcation point, this single decision carries enormous significance. Choosing to stay ignites a new pattern of awareness where unconscious impulses no longer dominate. Choosing to leave strengthens the old cycle, where the ego retains control by inventing reasons to escape what threatens it. The intensity rising within your field is the system nearing a phase transition. In physics, a phase transition occurs when matter reorganizes into a completely new state, like water reaching its boiling point and suddenly shifting into vapor. Transformation in consciousness works the same way. It isn't slow or linear, it's sudden, quantum, and absolute. Your awareness is nearing that leap right now, and the energy you feel building is the charge that precedes it. But here's the crucial twist. Phase transitions only unfold when specific conditions are met. If energy is too low, the system stays frozen. If energy is high but resistance remains strong, the system wavers but doesn't evolve. True transformation happens when there's enough energy and enough willingness to let the old structure dissolve. Right now, you possess the energy. The only question is whether you'll surrender to the transition, or whether resistance will interrupt it before completion. 3 years ago, I was watching a spiritual teaching that hit me hard, directly confronting truths my ego wanted desperately to avoid. About 15 minutes in, an overwhelming urge surged up to stop watching and move on. Check your messages, my mind said. Make some food. You already understand this. My hand reached for the mouse, ready to close the video, and then something made me hesitate. I recognized the impulse for what it truly was, not necessity, not boredom, but resistance. My ego was fighting to survive, fabricating any excuse to pull me away from insight that threatened its control. In that brief instant of awareness, I made a decision I'd never made before. I stayed. I continued watching despite every cell in my body wanting to quit. What unfolded over the next 30 minutes was the most uncomfortable yet liberating experience of my life so far. The teaching peeled away layer after layer of identity, belief, and illusion until I was left face to face with raw reality itself. With every layer that peeled away, my ego fought harder, screaming through tension, stirring restlessness in my body, agitation in my emotions, and endless mental arguments. But I stayed. I watched the discomfort instead of running from it. I breathed through the resistance and kept my focus anchored on what was unfolding. By the end, something deep inside had shifted. My outer world looked identical, same surroundings, same life, but my relationship to truth was completely transformed. I realized that the degree of my resistance to truth always mirrored how deeply that truth threatened my false identity. And I saw clearly, the discomfort of facing truth is nothing compared to the silent misery of living inside illusion. The days that followed were strange and luminous. The world appeared altered, familiar, yet entirely new. I couldn't participate in shallow talk the way I once did. My relationships rearranged themselves. Some blossomed with depth, others dissolved without conflict. Priorities realigned without effort. What used to feel urgent became meaningless, and what I once ignored suddenly felt essential. Life itself began reorganizing around the truth I had allowed to penetrate. All because I stayed when everything inside me wanted to flee. And that's what truly changed. I began to see the pattern everywhere. Whenever I wanted to end a meditation before the bell, I recognized it as the ego's resistance, and I stayed. When I wanted to dodge a hard conversation, I saw the avoidance reflex, and leaned in instead. When teachings triggered discomfort, I stopped escaping and let the unease exist without defense. Each act of staying in the presence of resistance weakened the ego's hold and fortified conscious awareness. It was like strengthening a muscle. Repetition built endurance. My ability to remain present in discomfort, to stay aware when the mind begged to numb out, to keep attention on truth when illusion tempted escape. That ability multiplied with every single choice to remain rather than run. The transformation wasn't sudden or dramatic, it was gradual, cumulative, powerful. Every moment of staying became a small rewiring, and those micro-shifts eventually reorganized my entire field of consciousness. The person who would have clicked away 3 years ago isn't the same awareness writing this now. Not because I turned into someone new, but because consciousness stopped mistaking itself for the limited identity the ego defended. What I'm sharing with you now is meant to ignite in you the same awakening that staying ignited in me. Not because I'm special or enlightened or possess something you don't, but because I simply stopped following egoic resistance blindly. You can do the same right now. That impulse to click away, to move on, it's not truth guiding you. It's ego resistance protecting its illusion of control. Each moment you stay despite the pull to leave, you're choosing awareness over habit, authenticity over comfort, transformation over familiarity. If these words feel like they're vibrating inside you, it's because there's only one consciousness reading them. The same awareness that recognized truth through me is recognizing itself through you. This isn't one person teaching another. It's consciousness revealing itself to itself through the illusion of two forms. And what it's revealing is that the separation was never real. Subscribe to this channel right now, not as an act of support but as an act of staying with truth. Everything here exists to help you remain anchored in awareness even when your conditioning screams to run. This is quantum reflex consciousness, the process by which awareness learns to override the ego's defense system so truth can be received unobstructed. Now let me show you why that impulse to leave always appears at the exact moment it does, and once you truly understand this, you'll never be unconsciously controlled by it again. The ego doesn't resist randomly. It has refined detection mechanisms. It senses when incoming information threatens its stability. And when that happens, it triggers the escape impulse precisely at the moment when staying would dissolve it. Think of how an antivirus program works, scanning for code that could compromise the system, isolating or deleting it before it spreads. Your ego functions exactly the same way. It scans incoming perception, and the instant it detects truth that could expose its illusion, it fires off the impulse to leave before that truth can fully land. That sudden urge to click away isn't boredom, distraction, or short attention span. It's the ego's defense mechanism activating. And the sharper a message points toward truth, the stronger that defense response becomes. Surface-level spiritual content doesn't trigger resistance. It just feeds the ego new ideas to collect. But when something cuts through concepts and points directly at the illusion of self, the ego panics. Here's the paradox. The stronger your urge to leave right now, the closer this message is to breaking the ego's control. If you felt calm, indifferent, and untriggered, it would mean nothing here threatens your illusion. But if you feel that restlessness, mental argument, or emotional discomfort, that's your confirmation. Resistance itself is proof of relevance. Most people get this backward. They believe if something feels uncomfortable, it must be wrong for them, and if it feels pleasant, it must be truth. But that's the ego's greatest deception. It makes lies feel safe and truth feel dangerous. Comfort means no challenge to the illusion. Discomfort means the illusion is being dismantled. The ego conditions you to chase what feels comfortable and avoid what feels uncomfortable, ensuring you never collide with truth, because truth is always uncomfortable to what is false. That's why Jesus said, "The truth will set you free, but first it will make you miserable." Not because truth itself is painful, but because truth is the end of the ego, and the ego interprets its own unraveling as suffering. The seeker who's still identified with the person experiences truth as a threat. But pure consciousness experiences that same truth as liberation, as the release from a cage it never realized it was in. Look closely at what's happening right now, in your direct experience. The urge to click away is arising, yes, but so is awareness of that urge. You're not the impulse. You're the awareness witnessing the impulse arise and fade. That recognition, that tiny but radical distinction, is everything. When you think you are the impulse, you act it out unconsciously. I feel like leaving, therefore I should leave. But when you know yourself as that which is aware of the impulse, you're suddenly free. The impulse arises within awareness, but you are not the impulse, you are the field it appears in. The ego survives by convincing you that you're the movements within awareness, the thoughts, emotions, sensations, desires. That identification is its entire defense system. The moment you recognize, wait, I'm the awareness in which all this happens, the spell begins to break. Thoughts come and go. Emotions rise and fall. Sensations flicker and fade. Awareness alone remains constant, unchanged, untouched. When you stabilize in that recognition, the ego's control collapses, because its tactics rely on your belief that you are what you experience, rather than what perceives the experience. And right now, there are unmistakable signals that your consciousness is brushing against a genuine threshold, the edge of real transformation. These signs aren't subtle or symbolic, they're tangible once you understand what they indicate. Signal 1. The urge to leave feels unusually intense, not mild boredom or casual distraction, but a strong, almost magnetic pull to click away now. That strength reveals the depth of what's being threatened. A faint urge means a faint challenge to the ego. A powerful urge means the ego feels cornered, which means staying through it will dissolve something significant. Notice how persuasive the thoughts sound. This is dragging on too long. I already know this. I should be doing something productive. This isn't helping. Each thought carries a false certainty, the ego's trademark. It doesn't whisper, maybe you should stop. It declares, obviously this is a waste of time. Be smart, leave. The more convincing those thoughts seem, the more clearly they reveal themselves as resistance rather than truth. Signal 2, the body joins the defense. Sudden restlessness. Urge to stretch, check your phone, get water, eat, move, escape. When mental strategies fail, the ego enlists physical sensations to legitimize avoidance. I really do need to eat. Sounds reasonable, but both the thought and the sensation serve one purpose: to pull your attention away before transformation completes. Observe closely. True hunger arises gradually. Ego-manufactured hunger appears suddenly when truth gets too close. True fatigue feels heavy and slow. Ego fatigue feels sharp, jittery, restless. True discomfort has a clear cause. Ego discomfort is vague, everywhere and nowhere at once. Signal 3, the mind starts generating clever counterarguments. That doesn't sound right. This contradicts what I learned elsewhere. This person's logic is flawed. The moment truth nears, the thinking mind goes into overdrive, analyzing, comparing, dissecting, anything to keep the truth at arm's length. The ego knows that truth isn't reached through thought. It's recognized directly when the mind becomes still enough to receive it. So it floods you with intellectual noise. Now notice the flavor of your objections. Are they open and curious? I'm not sure I understand, can you explain further? That's inquiry, consciousness exploring itself. Or are they tight and dismissive? This is wrong. This doesn't make sense. That's defense, the ego reinforcing its old walls. The difference is subtle but profound. One seeks to see more clearly. The other seeks to protect what it already believes. Staying present with the unease of not instantly knowing whether something is true or false. That's how truth becomes realized rather than merely examined. The 4th signal. Time begins to behave differently than normal. It might feel excruciatingly slow. How long is this video? Or you might lose all sense of time completely. This distortion of time during deep content means consciousness is approaching a threshold. The ego interprets it as, this is dragging on forever, trying to convince you you're wasting time. But consciousness experiences it as timelessness, as entering a dimension where the clock no longer applies because you're touching the infinite present. Time feels slow, that's the ego. If time disappears, that's awareness expanding. The question becomes, which one are you identified with? Are you the one who finds this painfully long, or the witnessing awareness for whom time bends and stretches? That recognition determines whether you follow the urge to exit or stay with what's unfolding. The 5th signal. Staying feels hard in a very particular way. Not because it's dull or meaningless, but because it's piercing layers of defense you didn't realize existed. There's a discomfort that isn't entirely physical, emotional, or mental, it's existential. It feels as though if you keep listening, something fundamental about who you believe yourself to be, and how you perceive reality, will transform in ways you can't predict or reverse. That existential tension is the most reliable indicator of all. The ego can handle information that slightly reshapes your worldview. It can tolerate methods that make you feel spiritual. It can even accept teachings that offer new ideas to ponder. What it cannot tolerate is truth that endangers its survival by revealing it was never real. And that's precisely the kind of truth that provokes existential unease rather than just mental disagreement or emotional reaction. But here's the critical message. This threshold window doesn't stay open forever. Right now your consciousness is highly activated, defenses heightened yet visible, awareness sharp enough to perceive the ego's tactics. This configuration is temporary. If you click away now, the energy settles, clarity dulls, and the ego's camouflage returns. You'll have to wait for another surge, another alignment of inner conditions for breakthrough. Think of it like surfing. You're riding the wave right now. The wave has force, rhythm, and power to carry you across. But waves rise, peak, and break. You're nearing the crest. Jump off now and you'll need to paddle back out and wait for another swell. Stay on this wave, ride it through its breaking point, and you'll experience the transformation it's carrying you toward. Everything, every video, every teaching, every challenge, has been orchestrating momentum for this moment. This wave isn't coincidence. It's the sum of every preparation your consciousness has undergone to reach this turning point. And the shift is available now, not someday after more practice. Now, if you choose to stay, here's what ensures the breakthrough completes instead of stopping midway. You must stay not only physically but energetically. You can remain watching while being mentally disengaged, waiting for it to end. That's physical presence but energetic absence, and it won't ignite transformation. Breakthrough demands total presence. Attention rooted here, awareness open, heart willing to receive even what dismantles your understanding. This is the difference between passive consumption and active reception. Passive consumption is how most people interact with content, letting it play while attention scatters across countless thoughts, occasionally tuning in but never landing. Active reception gathers all energy inward, attention steady, awareness alert, fully here with what's emerging. The same words create entirely different effects depending on whether you absorb them passively or actively. The ego thrives on passive consumption because surface-level engagement never integrates deeply. Information stays conceptual, stored as interesting ideas that change nothing. That's why the ego happily allows endless scrolling through spiritual material. It knows passive seeking is safe. It feels like progress without real danger. But active reception terrifies the ego because what's received actively integrates instantly. It transforms, restructures, and cannot be undone. At this moment, you're standing at a crossroads. You can keep reading while part of your mind plans the next thing to watch, the next task, the next distraction. That's passive consumption. You'll finish, remember a few inspiring lines, and move on unchanged. Or you can gather every fragment of your attention back here. Sink into presence with what's unfolding. Remain open to transformation even when it's uneasy. That's active reception, and it changes everything. The alignment required isn't aligning your beliefs with what's said. The ego loves agreement, collecting ideas, building identity around spiritual concepts. True alignment isn't acceptance, it's recognition. Not adding new beliefs but seeing through old illusions. Not accumulating ideas but dissolving identification with ideas altogether. Not becoming someone else, but remembering what you've always been beneath every mask you've worn. Now in the comments write these exact words, I choose to stay. This statement isn't about remaining for one video. It's a declaration to stay with truth even when conditioning demands you escape. To remain with discomfort even when the ego invents excuses. To stay with what is, even when what is threatens your entire identity. Write it, I choose to stay. And as you do, notice the subtle shift inside. Perhaps fear as the ego senses its grip weakening. But also relief, recognition, the quiet joy of finally stopping the constant fleeing and simply being here. That relief is consciousness itself. Realizing the endless project of running from truth is ending. Staying isn't forcing endurance, it's relaxing into reality. And when you stop avoiding, when you cultivate the strength to remain when conditioning says run, specific transformations begin to unfold. Ones that will forever alter your relationship with truth, awareness, and existence itself. First, you stop being driven by automatic impulses. The urge to leave was just one among thousands of unconscious urges directing your life. The urge to check your phone, to eat when you're not hungry, to speak when silence would be wiser, to act when stillness would serve better. Each time you consciously override one of these automatic impulses, you weaken the entire unconscious control system. Choosing to stay when you want to flee trains your ability to respond deliberately instead of reacting mechanically. You'll begin to notice this conscious strength expanding into every area of life. The impulse to lash out arises, yet you find space to choose calm. The urge to dodge a hard conversation appears, but you can lean in instead. The temptation to give up when things get intense shows up, but you keep going through it. Every time you replace unconscious reaction with conscious intention, you reclaim authority over your awareness. This authority is what spiritual paths describe as self-mastery, not controlling every experience but no longer being ruled by them. Experiences still arise, thoughts, feelings, sensations, but you're no longer compelled to obey them blindly. You gain space, clarity, and freedom to respond rather than react. Second, you build resistance to ego manipulation. Once you see how the ego uses the impulse to leave to block transformation, you begin recognizing the same tactic everywhere. The ego triggers the urge to snack to distract from emotions, the urge to scroll endlessly to avoid presence, the urge to stay busy to escape the quiet where truth becomes visible. Every pull that takes you out of presence is ego maintaining control. But when you can clearly observe the pattern, its power fades, like seeing the method behind a magic trick. Once you know the trick, it can't deceive you again. The ego's deceptions may seem complex, but they're still illusions. Once you've seen through one, you begin seeing through them all. The urge to exit this video? Ego self-defense. The itch to check your phone mid-conversation? Same. The drifting off during meditation? Same mechanism, different disguise. You develop what yogis call viveka, the discernment between truth and illusion, awareness and ego defense. When impulses arise, you can trace their source. Is this a real need or avoidance? Wisdom or fear? Authentic desire or conditioning? That clarity is invaluable. It lets you live from awareness rather than programming. Third, transformation starts to accelerate dramatically. When you kept leaving before truth could settle in, growth was impossible. You were constantly resetting, never staying long enough for true change to take root. But when you develop the ability to remain with what challenges you, every experience becomes a teacher. Teachings that once bounced off now sink deeply because you don't escape before they integrate. Practices that used to be dropped after a few days now unfold in depth because you stay through the resistance phase, the point where ego begs you to quit. Situations you once avoided are now met with openness, because you understand discomfort as a gateway to evolution rather than a threat. The compound effect is enormous. Someone who bails whenever it gets deep might consume hundreds of teachings yearly but integrate none. They're always leaving before the moment of change. Another person may explore just 10 teachings, but integrate each one fully, each reshaping consciousness from its foundation. The difference isn't in how much content is consumed, but in how deeply it's lived through staying instead of fleeing. Fourth, your internal detector sharpens to astonishing precision. You instantly recognize what's mere spiritual entertainment versus what's genuinely transformative. Surface-level content feels cozy, demands little, triggers no impulse to leave because it poses no threat. Transformative material feels uneasy, requires full presence, and provokes the strong urge to exit, because it challenges the ego's grip. Most people misunderstand this. They chase comfort and avoid challenge, not realizing they're running from transformation. Once you see this pattern, you start seeking discomfort consciously, knowing that's where real evolution begins. You grow skeptical of spiritual content that feels too pleasant, that soothes without stretching, flatters without shifting, entertains without awakening. This discernment saves enormous time and energy. Instead of spending endless hours on spiritual fluff that changes nothing, you can tell within minutes what's truly worth your focus. The rule of thumb becomes clear. Does this make me want to leave? If yes, it's likely transformative. If no, it's probably just comfort disguised as spirituality. Fifth, you cultivate what Buddhists describe as right effort, directing energy toward genuine transformation instead of ego-driven striving. The ego pushes you to work tirelessly at self-improvement, achieving, perfecting, all in service of maintaining its illusion of control. But the act of staying when you want to run requires almost no effort in the usual sense. You're not doing, you're not leaving. This effortless effort, action without force, is what truly transforms awareness. You're not trying to reach awakening, you're simply not abandoning it when awakening begins to happen. Transformation unfolds through non-interference, not through forced doing. You stop wasting energy on spiritual busywork and start realizing that genuine growth happens through simple, attentive presence. Staying with truth even when uncomfortable, remaining when the ego screams to escape. This is radical efficiency. Maximum transformation with minimal struggle, because your effort is finally aimed at the real mechanism, staying, instead of polishing the mask of becoming better. Sixth, your entire life begins to realign around truth instead of comfort. Previously, you unknowingly built your world around egoic ease, avoiding difficult people, leaving when triggered, surrounding yourself with information that reinforced what you already believed. But as you develop the ability to stay with discomfort, life reorients around authenticity. Now, every challenge, every difficult moment, every encounter with truth will feel approachable because you've developed the capacity to stand with it. Your life no longer orients around egoic comfort, but around authentic truth. Every decision, every relationship, every action flows in alignment with what is real, and each day is filled with deeper awareness and freedom. This is true transformation, not running toward comfort but fully inhabiting reality, staying present with what is, even when it's uncomfortable.